So there's been a lot of political debate about the Iranian nuclear deal and whether or not it's good or bad for the United States and Israel, as well as other Western allies. And there are a number of really compelling arguments to be made on both sides. But the predominant feeling, especially among comparative political scientists and specialists of the Middle East right now in the U.S., is that in general the benefits of the deal outweigh any negative consequences, and there are a few reasons for this. For one thing, at the domestic level, this deal empowers the moderate wing within Iran. The moderate wing, of course, which is symbolized by their elected president and a number of other elected representatives who have not absolute but considerable autonomy and authority within their dualistic system of elected representation and religious appointments that have veto power over those representatives. These moderates are, in general, the domestic force and political faction that most Western countries want to work with because they're the most open, they're the most transparent, and they tend to be more open-minded when it comes to treaties like this. Secondly, the deal does give the United States and its Western allies a clear mechanism by which to freeze the deal or even attack Iran. There are a number of individuals in the United States, as well as in Israel, who feel that Iranian nuclear capability is the worst thing ever imaginable that could happen, and there should be no treaty, no negotiation, simply an all-out attack. And while obviously the idea of a country developing weapons of mass destruction with no real accountability is a scary thought, if you read the text of the treaty, the deal actually mandates a set of very clear conditions under which the U.S. is legally, through international treaty law and other international legal mechanisms, is legally empowered to actually attack Iran, but in a way that doesn't contravene any prevailing sentiments at the world stage. Which is to say, if Iran flagrantly thumbs its nose to the international community and turns its back on the deal and continues developing weapons of mass destruction or nuclear weapons or whatever it is developing in a way that international monitors do not like and that they verify is evidence that Iran is violating the treaty, then outside actors do have the legal right to punish Iran. And that is a legal that's a legal empowerment of international punishment that doesn't exist now. Right now what exists are a few countries that have the capacity to attack Iran, but not necessarily global opinion. The treaty lays out the conditions under which Iran could be attacked if it is in violation of the nuclear treaty. And third and finally, the treaty puts everything out into the open. The treaty makes most of Iran's nuclear facilities open to inspection. It limits the development of certain nuclear facilities, and it forces Iran to be extremely transparent about what it can and cannot do. And again, the most important part of the treaty is not simply the fact that it is a détente with Iran. Whether or not Iran becomes an eternal ally of the United States moving forward, or Israel's best friend, or still Israel's worst nightmare, that's all in the hands of other diplomats. But for this particular issue, the nuclear issue, the treaty forces Iran to make clear what its intentions are, and it allows the region to breathe a little easier. And this is a region that has enough civil wars and internal political violence and revolutions as it is. It doesn't need the shadow of a nuclear holocaust hanging over it. And so for a variety of these reasons, while there is a case to be made, as many conservatives in the United States and Israel do, that the treaty is too lenient, that the only solution to Iran is outright containment, and absolute freezing of all Iranian assets, and even a military attack, the treaty is a way to A, foreclose the possibility of another regional war, which no one can afford now, and B, make sure all Iranian assets are in the open, and C, and most importantly, lay out very clearly what the legal mechanisms are under which Iran can or cannot be attacked. And that legal clarity, I think, is the most important thing to come out of the deal, especially since over the last 10 or 15 years, one of the worst things the United States has done in the Middle East is do things without overwhelming international legal clarity, which has hurt our alliances abroad, strained relationships with our allies, including Israel, and made the American electorate very wary of promises made by politicians to invade or not invade certain countries in the region and around the world.